You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our feature presentation.
In a world where film studios have pillaged every young adult novel, DC'd every comic book series, and Frankenstein every silver screen monster in search of the next movie mega franchise. Two nerds, two movies, one cinematic universe.
This is Jasper.
And this is Randy.
We watched two movies.
And they had such sights to show us.
Welcome to Season 2.
Season 2.
Episode 11.
Yeah. Jasper, I figured there'd be changes for Season 2. This is not the change I expected. I figured we'd just mention it in case people notice, like, I think you sound pretty good, but in case people notice it sounds a little different. We are podcasting essentially over Jasper's Xbox One.
Yep. My personal car has died. Long not live that car. RIP. So I'm broadcasting from my home.
We're doing this. We're doing a remote recording here, and Jasper's Skyping in through Xbox One, which is interesting. This is a first for me. I've never podcasted over an Xbox.
Yep. So if it's poor sound quality, I apologize in advance. But you're just gonna have to deal.
I'm actually kind of impressed. It sounds pretty decent. Like, that's a decent headset you've got going on. Sounds a lot better than most like interview situations on podcasts where people are like calling on their phone.
Turtle Beach X40, I think, or something. I make sure my gaming headsets are top of the line.
oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, but no, it's pretty good.
Last episode was our season 1 finale. I think it went great. If you haven't checked it out, GCU number 10, go check it out. We did a ton of movie pitches for all 16 movies from episodes 1 through 9. So for some reason, if you just started here and you haven't checked that out, check that out. My second 2 pitches, because I said I had 4 pitches total. By the time this episode goes up, my second 2 pitches will be on Patreon. So you check out GCU number 10. If you want to hear where my cinematic universe goes, go to patreon.com/Grawlix podcast. But I'm thinking they'll be free, but they'll still be on Patreon. So if you want to check them out, hit up Patreon. You don't have to become a patron to listen to it. You know,
we're giving you a little taste.
Look around.
What Patreon members get.
Look around, because we have tons of bonus episodes on there. Like 40. I think we're about up to 40 like Patreon exclusive episodes over there. So come on, $1 a month. $1
a month gets you. $1 a month.
No, stop. Let's not do it.
Okay.
No cringe. No cringe this episode. We're gonna be cool as a cucumber.
We're gonna give you these pitches. It's gonna be like we're giving you one chip out of the bag to try the delicious dip.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. You have to buy the whole bag.
All right, Jasper. What movies are we talking about today?
We're talking about Se7en.
Oh.
And Hellraiser.
Oh.
I don't know what years they're from. Well, let's look that up.
We'll get it. Which one did you want to start with?
I'm going to go to 7. I'm going to go 7, which is actually made in 1995.
It was.
2 homicide detectives are on a desperate hunt for a serial killer whose crimes are based on the 7 deadly sins. In this dark and haunting film that takes years from the tortured remains of one victim to the next. The seasoned detective Somerset researches each sin in an effort to get inside the killer's mind, while his novice partner, Mills, scoffs at his efforts to unravel the case. It is starring Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman,
yep,
and Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yep, directed by David Fincher.
1995. I was 8.
Really?
8? Yeah. No, I was 9. Nope. My math is 2 plus 2 is 4 minus 3 is quick math.
Well, this is still when the movies took like at least a year to hit home video from the theater. So like now a movie hits the theater and we're like, when's it hitting video? What, in like 3 months? That's so long away. So I'm going to guess I seen this in around 96 maybe. So I would have been 15. Ooh, is that right? 15, 14, something like that. This is not guaranteeing a high star rating from me, but just a heads up. This was like my favorite movie for a long time. So, spoiler, I like this movie. Had you ever seen this before?
I have seen bits and pieces of it. I knew mostly the biggest thing I knew about was the box. What's in the box?
You knew there was a box and there was something in it.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing I knew about that was all the conspiracy theories. But
Okay, interesting. Yeah, you told me some of the conspiracy theories. I didn't. I'm not keen on them. I think it's straightforward what's in the box, and a bunch of conspiracy theories putting other things in the box doesn't really make sense with the plot.
right.
How did this strike you? Like, what did you think of this? If you'd seen bits and pieces, but this is your first time actually watching the whole thing throughout, finding out what's in the box.
Well, I'm partial to crime movies. I like crime movies, which actually why watching this kind of not reminded me of it, but kind of made me want to watch Bone Collector again. I don't know. Of course, you've probably seen that multiple times, probably. But
Bone Collector? No, that's a Bone Collector.
What?
No, F that movie. That's a cheap Seven wannabe. Bone Collector. That's a bad movie.
I thought it was good. Anyway,
I know people like it. But
moving on.
moving on.
I really like the cinematography in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I like the dark aspect, but it was kind of not like too dark or too light. It was nice.
It was not too dark, you don't think?
Mm-mm. Like, I mean, it was really dark when it had to be, but like when they're like outside and stuff, it's not like, you know.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, this movie, there's heavy contrast. Like the blacks are black, even in the like when they're outside and it's fairly bright. The shadows are black. Like there's heavy contrast to the picture of this. Yeah, I think the cinematography is great. This watch through, it kind of felt too dark to me, but I'm assuming you watched this on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. And I don't know, it looked fine. Maybe it's just the copy. I know at one point Fincher had gone back and kind of digitally color corrected the movie. 95, it was shot on film still, and he went back and touched it up digitally later, but I don't know, it seems super dark. I mean, it is super dark. It's Seven, right? Like, it's so dark. That's, I think, why I liked it so much when I was younger. But it felt too dark in a lot of spots to me. But I agree. I think the cinematography is great. It looks fantastic. The sets are awesome. Like, the whole movie has it's got a cohesive feel, and the feel is just filthy. Everything looks so dirty. Everything is just grimy and disgusting. Even like, the police station, it still looks dirty. The only place that doesn't really look dirty that I can think of is the lawyer's office, but that's a bloody scene itself, so.
They kind of sold like where they're talking about when Mills first arrives, the first thing they were speaking about was this is like the worst precinct in the city. And I think like the cinematography kind of sold that. Like it's like the dirty, gringy part of or dirty, grimy part of the city that's like the worst,
Mm-hmm. This is so 90s, this movie.
Yeah.
Everything, it's so 90s. It's not the Crow kind of 90s, because sometimes I think of, like, I'll talk to people, me and Jesse and Melanie on the Grawlix podcast have talked about the Crow movie. I always say that's 90s distilled. Like, that's the movie version of the 90s. But this is also pretty close. It doesn't have the cheesy, it does kind of have some cheesy moments actually, but it's just the attitude, it's all bleak. The music is super 90s. It's got the intro music is a very strange remix of Nine Inch Nails. I heard some Gravity Kills in there. So like the contemporary music that's in it is very 90s, and just the look, everything about it. But also, we talk about the tech for a second? Because watching this, I was like, I know it's 95, despite my saying it's a little dark. It looks good. Like, I think the film itself, it looked good. It looked modern, is what I was initially thinking. But then I'm like, except all the cars are definitely older cars, like 80s, early 90s, very boxy cars. I was like, but it's still kind of modern, except they have pagers, and there's not a single computer. I'm wrong. There's one single computer in the police station, and that's what they use to search fingerprints.
Right.
Otherwise, the desks all have typewriters. I was like, oh, okay, nope, this is kind of dated. They print something off on a dot matrix printer, and I'm like, okay, never mind, this is very dated. But like, the story feels modern. The story would play out relatively the same, but it's interesting to see the differences. Just the tech, the old tech, man, the old police tech.
Right. The pager I was like, man, I haven't seen a pager in a while.
Rockin' pagers, exactly. Also, that brings me to one other thing about the tech that I thought was funny. that's really a sign of the times. But it seemed like a very 90s thing where it's like kind of conspiracy theory, Big Brother is watching, man, where Somerset knows a guy in the FBI, right?
Yeah.
And he pays him to get him a list of names of people that checked out certain books from the library. And this is a big secret where Mills is like, what did you, thanks for wasting our money. What did you do that for? What was that? What, Stinky Man? We'll get to Mills in a second. But Somerset's like, oh, hush, hush, it's a big secret. Like the FBI keeps a database of people who check out certain books. Certain books are flagged. In order to check out books, you have to in order to get a library card, you have to have an ID. So blah, blah, blah. And Mills is like, how is this legal? And it's like some big, like, shocking thing where it's like the FBI is tracking people based on books they check out at the library. Dude, flash to today, modern world. That is the least shocking, very naive seeming thing. But like, I don't know, this is well before 9/11. So well before NSA and all that. So I guess it was shocking. It's just weird to see that now where Mills is like surprised by it. And how is this legal? And today
That
they track
normally.
us all. They track us all online. They track us all the time. Like, yeah. Let's talk about the characters. We've got two main characters here. We've got Mills and Somerset. Part of the strength of this movie is they're very well-defined characters for the most part. Like, they have a lot of personality. It's part of what makes this movie work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt. Let's talk about Brad Pitt because his character is kind of humorous. He plays it kind of dim. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He calls that one guy Stinky Man. Who? Stinky Man? He's got very, very short temper. You know, it's impressive to see a man feeding off of his emotions.
I like that he's like arrogant, but not like overly arrogant.
Maybe, if anything, overly confident.
Mm-hmm.
He's super confident. Him and Somerset do not get off on the right foot. And I don't blame him because Somerset, he's kind of a jerk to him at first because he's like, you're not ready. You're obviously not ready. You're too naive for this. And especially then they land this thing that Somerset like knows right off is like, this is going to be a serial killer. This is going to be a big thing. Like, this kid can't handle it. But Somerset is very jaded. He's about to retire. He's lucky he didn't die in this movie.
Right.
Because he's past retirement in this. Like, he stays on extra days to see this out.
I was almost kind of wondering that too. I was like, when is he gonna die? Because he's at retirement,
2 more days to retirement.
That's when you know you're about to die. When you're on a big case and you have 2 days till retirement.
Yep. That's why he wanted off so bad. That's why he's like, I don't want it. I don't want it.
But yeah, that's what I always thought was like, I was like, man, you're close to retirement. This guy's going to die in 7. Like, he is dead. Did
you think so?
Mm-hmm. I, of course, knew like he lived because that, the what's in the box was the ending. But yeah, I was like, man, every time they ever point that out in a show or a movie, that guy is going to die last day.
Uh-huh.
Like, he's going to dodge bullets for the whole movie, but then right as he signs his papers, sniper bullet through the window.
And obviously, we're going to get into spoilers. We're going to get into spoilers on all these movies. We end up getting into spoilers of all the movies we talk about. So far, we've done pretty good at avoiding the main spoiler. So if you haven't seen 7, like, you should go watch 7. I think it's kind of a classic. I think it's solid. I will get to some more criticisms, but I think I don't know if I'd say masterpiece, but it's definitely one of the best 90s films, I think. So it's worth watching. This movie was huge, and it spawned so many. It's Bone Collector. It spawned so many. I'm gonna say copycat movies, but it inspired so many movies. Dark homicide, detective movies. So many TV shows. The Law and Order type stuff was already going on, but like, I think this kind of blew up, especially some of the darker 90s, like serial killer tracking detectives. There was Millennium, which was great the first season and terrible the second season, with Lance Hendrickson. And then there was also, there was a bunch of like the Mind Hunter type detective shows. And I think those all spawned out of how well this did. So yeah, this was a pretty big movie. This is David Fincher, who's a big director. He's done a lot of stuff. After this, he did, was The Game immediately after this? Or was Fight Club? I don't know, but he did The Game, which was not that popular. He did Fight Club, which everybody knows Fight Club. More recently, he did like Social Network. I'm trying to think of the most recent thing he's done.
That's another movie we need to watch. Is Fight Club.
Oh yeah,
I've seen bits and pieces of that. I've never seen it back to
Are
back
you-
or front to back.
Are you kidding me, dudes? Okay, so I know we're off topic. Seven and Fight Club. Fight Club, I have seen countless times. Like I literally have no idea how many times I've seen it, but I've seen it so many times. So you don't really know movies, right? Like you know, kind of know movies, but you don't really know movies. So would you say it's fair that we take an angle of like one guy who doesn't know about movies? Not to say
I know the MCU.
Oh yeah, no, that's not.
No. So what happened when I was little was since I was the second to youngest brother, is that these movies are being watched and I was always kicked out of the room. There was a time where I could have jumped in, like watched all these movies, but like I started watching. That's how. Even though I'm pretty sure I've seen that one front to back, American History X. I started to watch that, and then I got to the Curb Stomp one, and then I was kicked out of the room. Even though I was not too far behind them in age. Like,
Okay.
although one I'm glad I got kicked out was a movie called The Killing Fields, which I don't ever tell anybody to watch.
I don't know that movie.
It's about the Cambodian War.
Oh.
And it's the most realistic war movie that they've ever had, but don't ever watch it. Yeah, so these movies were around in my house when I was little, but I was always the little brother out, the odd man out. So that's why I kind of also wanted to start this podcast, because then I can go back and watch all the movies that I was kicked out of.
Okay. Yeah, because leading up to this episode, I think it was, behind the scenes, I gave you a lot of grief over not having seen certain movies, including Seven, Bill and Ted's.
Excellent Adventure.
Which was almost this episode. I don't remember why we didn't do. Oh, because Jesse recommended Se7en Hellraiser almost as not a punishment, but almost like he doesn't know movies. You should do this to him, like just two dark, bloody, grotesque movies, because they both are.
My thing is that I don't know a lot of like the masterpiece movies or like the icon movies, but I'm totally intrigued on how movies are made, like cinematography and editing and scoring. And I think that's what kind of pulled me to do this podcast. Was I was like, I want to get more in depth and see those masterpiece ones, and not not Air Force One all the time.
We're going to end up diving back into the bad movies too. Like it won't all be like, it won't all be classics every time, but this. Maybe we'll do another Ants type double feature.
My friend said he's not on our Grawlix, but he said we should do like one of the two longest movies was Inception and Interstellar. I was like, I actually like Inception, but I've never actually seen Interstellar.
I love Inception. I like Nolan. I like him as a director. I have not seen Interstellar either. I have not seen, or you've seen his most recent movie, which was that Dunkirk. I have not seen that yet either. But Interstellar, it's just so long. That's why I haven't watched it yet, because I know it's super long. But I'll have to watch that sometime. Inception, I know for a fact we're going to do at some point. I'm just not sure when.
Right.
Inception, I love that movie. It's not perfect, but I think it's so good. Anyway, back on topic. So yeah, David Fincher, he's also, most recently, he's done like Gone Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, which is not recent at all at this point. The moviedb.org has him as the director for World War Z 2, and that shocks the crap out of me. I don't know if that's really the case or not.
They've announced it, so.
I mentioned Mindhunter type TV shows that Seven inspired. He is a producer and directed some of the episodes of a Netflix show called Mindhunter about serial killers or about killers or something. So that's funny.
Maybe we need to watch this guy just in case, like,
right?
just keep an eye on him, people.
He's done several movies. His Zodiac, about the Zodiac killer. He directed that one too.
So he's very much crime and mystery.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. One criticism I have is I think the movie's well written. The characters are well written. I like the dialogue, but there's some parts that are kind of over the top, dark and moody. When they find the one guy who is basically like kind of starved but just barely kept alive, they walk in and they think he's dead. He's in that room with all the little car air freshener trees hanging. The doctor talking about him has just the most over the top dialogue about this man's seen as much pain and suffering as just about anybody I've ever treated, and he's still got hell to look forward to. It's just like, Whoa. Okay, dude. Okay. Tone it
Right.
back. Tone it back.
It's like this guy hasn't already suffered enough. Like,
If his brain wasn't already mush, which it is, he chewed off his tongue long ago. It's like, whoa, we get it. We get it.
right.
Let's talk a little bit about the murders, specifically the most shocking ones or the most maybe memorable ones. What did you think about the whole hooker thing?
Dude, whoa. Like, that was. I was sitting there, I was like, holy crap, that is crazy. Like,
They handled that very well because it's all in, like, they show you the accessory, the thing that's made. And then, like, you're at the scene, you don't actually ever see anything. But the guy, the little guy that was forced to strap the thing on, like, his acting in that scene in the interrogation room or whatever, it's like, oh, that really makes it.
yeah, because
very effective.
he sold that very well.
Yeah.
And then, but that's what, like, I kind of like you said too, is they didn't really show like a lot of it, but they gave you the scene, like, you know, what you would kind of let your imagination,
Yeah.
you know, figure out how bad that scene is. Like, it was bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's well handled because it's totally left to your imagination, but it doesn't take much to, like, know, oh God, that's a terrible thing. That's pretty extreme. It's pretty hardcore.
Oh, the one I can like get over was the I think it was the gluttony one, with just that whole fat suit, like just the way they it was just horrible.
That's the first one too. So they introduce you to the whole thing.
I like how they also point out that the guy in the fat suit is also well endowed, as they would say. So
Yeah, it doesn't pull any punches. I like the music of the movie too. It's appropriately moody.
Sloth one scared me. The one where I thought E.T. was in the freaking room.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that's the one with the guy, right? In the apartment with the air freshener things hanging. Arlie Emery.
So what's bad is I've always got him in like a comedic role, but it was nice, kind of cool to see him in like that, like actual like serious supervisor role.
He's still kind of funny. There's the bit where he's sitting out at some random desk talking to people and the phone rings and he picks up. He's like, "This is not even my desk." And he just slams the phone down. It's like, why did that happen? Why is that even there?
I like him as an actor though. He's actually pretty good actor.
Yeah, I like him too. In preparing my movie pitch, I looked up the character's name. It's Police Captain. He doesn't actually have a name. Like, he's credited as just Police Captain. I was like, they didn't even give Arlie a name?
I think they did. Didn't they just call him Captain most of the time?
Yeah, must have.
Or Sir?
Gwyneth Paltrow is in this?
Pepper Potts.
Of course.
I had to get it in.
Check. MCU.
I had to get it in. We cannot go an episode where I don't say something like that.
I like her in this. She, but she's kind of a wreck. It's her role. She's just a wreck. She's there and she's not happy.
Yeah.
The few moments of levity in this movie like work so well because it is so like overbearingly just moody and dark. When they have Somerset over for dinner and that they laugh about that whole like the soothing vibrating home and all that whole moment. I think that's extra effective because of how dark the movie is, but I think those moments work.
What did you think of Kevin Spacey?
I was going to say, that's the last thing we have to get to here. Kevin Spacey. This movie kind of made his career, I want to say. I mean, I know he was in stuff before, and I know he did a bunch of like Broadway stuff or whatever. Everybody knows that. I think that's where he got in trouble. But I think this was his first big, like, everybody knew him after this. You know what I mean? And it's kind of amazing he didn't always get typecast into the serial killer, because then eventually, not long after this, he did like American Beauty and K-Pax and there's a bunch of late 90s Kevin Spacey movies where he's not necessarily a bad guy or even a jerk, even though he's so good at playing a jerk. I thought he was good. I thought he was really good. I always thought he was good in this. It's kind of over the top, but he plays it appropriately. Just weird. And he just delivers everything so like cold for the most part, except for when he does get a little riled up. Yeah.
I also thought it was a weird way to like kind of progress the movie where he kind of just turns himself in. Like he's like, I'm the one you're looking for.
No, yeah, it's definitely a weird move. I was kind of thinking about that. It could feel like they're just trying to, time to wrap the movie up, but it doesn't. It kind of subverts what you assume the climax of the movie is, them catching this guy. Instead, he just walks in and turns himself in. Detective! You're like, I love when he freaks out down there. The movie does a very good job of not, like, you don't see him until that moment either. You don't see who he is. You do see him once, but you don't know that he's the killer at that point, and he's kind of got he's doing a Superman, he's got the glasses and a hat, he's a reporter, because he shows up as the reporter in an earlier scene.
Yeah, they said when he, like, goes to, like, push him that you can tell it's Kevin Spacey, which I didn't catch that.
And I think back in the day, it would have been even easier to miss it, because he wasn't such a household name. But even now, if you don't know it's Kevin Spacey, I don't think you notice right away that's who it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to say because I know, this recent watch I've seen Seven a lot, so I know it's him. But no, I think he was good. He's good casting in that because the speech in the back of the car is good. That whole scene, the whole end climax is pretty awesome. And then when the what's in the box, all that stuff goes down, and Mills finds out that I can't remember what the character's name is. What's Mrs. Mills? We'll say was pregnant. The look that Spacey gives is perfect. I always thought Kevin Spacey was probably like a real life just super jerk because he plays petty and jerky so well, like too well. You know what I mean?
It's weird too, like, cause I was kind of thinking about this. I don't know if you thought about this. Do you think that the blood on his shirt when he turned himself in is Mills's girlfriend?
Yeah. No, I think definitely. Well, it said they even said it was the blood was his from cutting his fingertips. Which, if he's turning himself in, why did he go to the trouble of like cutting his fingerprints off again? Anyway, his and some other person's, another individual's, and so if it's confirmed, like we know who else he killed. So yeah, it's hers.
Okay, so I'm gonna hit you with some trivia, but I want to ask you what you think of this movie. If this person, so they went through a lot of people that they were going to cast as these people.
Okay.
And then were turned down, or the person turned it down. The first one that they thought for Mills was Sylvester Stallone.
What?
Yeah.
What you mean, Stinky Man? I can't even do a Sylvester Stallone voice.
What are you talking about? Stinky Man for? Val Kilmer turned down the role to play John Doe.
Ooh. That doesn't surprise. Val Kilmer was a commodity in the 90s. Val Kilmer had like a sexiness going on, and you don't need a sexy John Doe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Guillermo del Toro turned down the chance to direct because as a romantic, he didn't subscribe to the script's dark view of the world.
Oh, interesting.
Al Pacino was supposed to play Somerset.
Ooh, God, I'm glad that didn't happen either.
Yeah.
Hemingway. I wish I could do impressions because just thinking of some of these actors doing the lines that are in the movie is ridiculous.
Yeah, the early choices were Al Pacino and Denzel Washington,
who eventually went to do Bone Collector and stuff, huh? I think Morgan Freeman's great, but Denzel, he could have worked. He's not too big of a stretch, I don't think.
Yeah, I think it'd been a lot more actiony though. Like, Denzel's kind of that guy.
He's definitely younger though, especially at that point. He was way younger, so it makes sense.
Kind of fits into the Training Day type.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Kevin Costner and Nicolas Cage were briefly considered for the role of David Mills.
Oh God, I'm glad they didn't go with either, especially Nicolas Cage.
David Cronenberg was offered a chance to direct this, but he turned it down.
I'm glad Fincher got it. This was Fincher's second movie. His first movie was Alien 3, which is generally not a well-regarded movie. But this was, I think, what he considers his first actual movie. And I would agree, like, this is a solid beginning to, like, a good career. So I'm glad they went with Fincher. But Cronenberg, I mean, it's dark and gory and gritty. Cronenberg would have weirded it up, though, for sure. 90s Cronenberg, no less. Oh, it would have ended up really weird.
Gene Hackman was also offered the role of Somerset, but it turned it down because of too many night shoots.
Huh, okay.
No, I like this too. I was going to tell you this in another. It was titled Seven. The film runs 127 minutes long, and the 35 millimeter prints are made up of 7 reels.
Ooh, weird.
So weird.
I know this script went around Hollywood for a long time, and it was well known as the box movie. That's what everybody because some scripts get shopped around for a long time and just don't happen. but like become well known amongst the industry because, you know, people read it. And this was known as the box movie. No, the Head in the Box movie. Oh, the Head in the Box movie? They're making the Head in the Box movie over there? Okay, yeah. So yeah, I know this was a script that flipped around Hollywood for a long time.
And the last one is Harrison Ford was for Somerset. They thought about getting him to. I don't know if that would work. I like Harrison Ford, but
would have made a Blade Runner 7 crossover way easier.
Right. My thing, Harrison Ford and Morgan Freeman would be a weird one, and then Harrison Ford and Denzel would have been a weird one.
Harrison Ford might have been okay. I think he does Moody well. I picture it, he'd just be an older Deckard almost in that role. He's cynical, moody. But Morgan Freeman, I think, is about the perfect. He's good casting for it because generally you think of Morgan Freeman and you think of the movies where he's like more hopeful in. Even Shawshank Redemption, he's like, you know, kind of an upbeat character. So he's been
the same age since this movie though, because he doesn't look like he's aged at all.
He's ageless. I know. I looked up how old he is too. He was 58 or 59 during this movie. He's about 80 now, I think. He's born in 1937. He's aged well. I think all around though, the casting in this is pretty good, especially for the time. I think it just comes together well, and I don't necessarily see the movie being as successful with some of the people you mentioned that they looked at it for casting. I just don't think it would have, at least, I don't know that it would have the longevity that the movie, I think, does.
I think Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are probably the best fit.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of riff off each other, too. Like, they also kind of are very, like, cohesive and when they have to be, and then they're also kind of that almost like Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, they're not, they don't necessarily get along. They're almost polar opposites of each other. But there's still like an appeal to their duo, to their team up. Like there's not chemistry, but they're an amusing pair, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's a scene towards the end, and something I've never noticed in this, or maybe didn't pay much attention, is when they're shaving their chest before the end to get wired up. Mm-hmm. And they're joking about, you know, if workman's comp would cover if you shaved a nipple off or whatever. And they kind of have they have a laugh, which I think is a good moment. But then Mills gets like very serious. And he starts to say something, and then he changes his mind and he doesn't say it. I want to know what that was. What was he going to say? What was that moment about?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you didn't even notice it, but like I said, I hadn't really gave it much thought. But this time, this viewing, it kind of struck me. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, another thing in like in the trivia too was that the whole like last part of the movie was like shot in different times because like Brad Pitt was on another movie. Just the car rolling for like 3 minutes was like, I think they said months apart, where, you know, he had to go film that movie and then come back and do this. They said that all the aerial shots of the last meeting was all just people that were made up to look like them. And they said also Kevin Spacey was on another movie. So when Somerset's running at Mills and he has his head turned, it was another guy. It wasn't actually Kevin Spacey.
Oh, it's okay. Interesting. That last scene is so good. Throw it away. Throw the gun away. John Doe has the upper hand.
What was he? My question is, did he really think he was going to drop the gun? You know,
he had to try though. He had to try. No, because Mills is stubborn anyway. He wasn't going to regardless. Yeah, I don't know. I also really like they throw. It's got to be longer than one frame. Maybe it's like 2 frames. Just a quick little frame of Gwyneth Paltrow as Mills is agonizing there, trying to, I don't know if he's trying to resist the urge to shoot him or what, but they drop in a couple frames of Gwyneth Paltrow before he's like, nope, pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, that actually, it came in so quick it almost actually scared me. I was like, oh, what was that? And I was like, oh.
Just a little Gwyneth Paltrow face.
Here's the question. Would you have shot him?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. And they make it the worst possible thing. Like, and she was pregnant and he didn't know. And Somerset apparently knew. And yeah, they just made it, as horrible as they could.
That's an intense scene.
Yeah. I was curious as to how this movie would strike you. Not as curious as I am about the next movie, but I was curious how this movie would strike you.
No, I mean, this one leaves questions in your mind of say he doesn't shoot him, what happens then, you know? Like one of the conspiracy theories wasn't her head in there. It was because Spacey wanted him to shoot him, so then he would be in prison for almost no reason other than killing him. But like you said, I don't get that with Somerset's reaction to it, because I'm like, oh well, it could have been a head that looks like hers, but yeah, I don't get it. I like the way it ended.
I don't think there's a reason to really look into it. I mean, people do just because you don't actually see her head in there. You see a little bit of hair, but you don't actually see her head, and that's why people are going to. But I don't think there's a reason to read into it beyond.
I think he would know if that was her or not.
Oh yeah, and he's a homicide detective. Like, he's gonna get a good enough look to be sure before he runs over there.
Would that been weird if he like pulled the head out, like just looked at it and then like, yeah, it's her.
If it wasn't, or even if he suspected it wasn't, Somerset he'd have denied it. He'd have like, no, this guy's full of crap, to save Mills. He probably should have done that anyway, but he couldn't lie. He couldn't lie to him about it. I mean, if you think about it, Somerset could have kind of avoided that if he'd lied to Mills. But then Mills probably wouldn't have given up his gun anyway. He'd have went over there and looked himself, and then you'd have an angry Mills PO'd at you as well. So, and she wasn't one of the 7.
Mm-hmm.
That was. She was an innocent one, and that made Spacey's character guilty of envy, right?
Mm-hmm. And his was wrath, wasn't it, for killing him?
Wrath, which he didn't kill Mills, but basically took his life away. So yeah, so star ratings, I guess.
Yep. You want to go first?
Okay.
See where you're at? 5 out of 5.
What was that? What did you say?
Nothing. Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm having mic monitoring issues over here.
Oh, sure. What you just said it. What do you think I rated this?
5.
I did. This is a 5-star movie. Like I said, for a long time, this was my number 1 favorite movie. It's not anymore, but I think it's still great. It's just so well made. It's well made. It's well written, and it's still, and it also it's got some nostalgia for me. It's very 90s. The music is exactly the music I listened to at the time, and yeah, it's good. I like it. 5-star. It's 7. 7-star.
No, I'm gonna go 5 on this one because I was very intrigued.
I think this is the first. Are you serious? Were you gonna give it a 5 before you knew I was gonna give it a 5?
I was teetering between 4.5 and 5, but I'm gonna give it a 5 because like I said, I loved the, not really say the set, but the picture of it, and then the story kept me intrigued. This is the only movie that I've watched during this podcast where I put my phone down for almost the whole movie.
You should probably do that every movie.
No, well, I tried.
This is the first you've given a 5-star. I'm actually a little surprised.
Yeah, I was really into this one. Again, like I said, I'm a crime show movie person.
And you like the 7 Sins theme too, huh? I think you commented on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good.
I think it was the first movie and even show that did the 7 deadly sins right. There's a story behind all of them, not just killed the fat guy because,
And the method of murder. It wasn't just he murdered this guy because he's a fat guy. He murdered this guy by feeding him to death. I mean, essentially it was a kick to the side that ruptured his whatever, but that's what he was trying to do, was trying to feed the guy until he burst.
I was laughing too because they said the guy that was in For Greed, where he is kind of like bent over, they used, I think, 4 or 5 gallons of fake blood so bad that his knees were stuck to the floor. Like, it was because he made of the syrup stuff.
Yeah.
Oh. So they had to peel him off the floor.
Oh, God. The guy that played the sloth victim, there was a story of, so he's this super skinny guy, right? And, he's one of those guys that, like, he'll go and audition for movies because of his physical attributes. He's this little skinny guy. You need a little tiny skinny guy for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Fincher had told him, I don't remember where I heard this, but I guess Fincher had told him jokingly, sure, lose about 10 more pounds and you got it. Well, this guy's super skinny anyway. So the guy actually went and lost like 10 more pounds and then come back. And Fincher's like, dude, I was not serious. But, so yeah, probably an actual malnourished person.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing that in Cherry that they said he was actually pretty skinny. Like, he really went above and beyond for that role.
All right. Yeah. Seven. I'm glad we got to cover this one. Like I said, this double feature was a suggestion by Jesse, and I keep he keeps giving. On the most recent Grawlix podcast episode, we talked about it. I was like, dude, you can't, I can't help it. Like your suggestions are too good. You got to stop giving me good suggestions. Melanie's like, well, you just got to make him co-host with you. Then you got to make him be a guest on the movies he suggests. That'll probably cut it down. And Jesse's like, yep, that'll cut it down. I'm like, no, we just pull him on for good stuff like Ants and Wasp Woman.
Right. I feel bad for even putting him on that one.
Nah, that stuff's right up his alley, man. He likes that kind of stuff. He rated the Wasp Woman Ants fairly high comparatively. Wow, this is 7 to just become our highest rated, like 2 5 stars. Nice, nice.
I think that makes you happy inside.
It does. It does. It's a good movie. All right, now we're going to talk about Hellraiser. From 1987, Larry and his wife Julia move into an old house and discover a hideous creature, the man's half-brother, who is also the woman's former lover, hiding upstairs. Having lost his earthly body to a trio of S&M demons, I love that they put it that way. It's true, though. It's what they are. S&M demons, the Cenobites. Frank is brought back into existence by a drop of blood on the floor. He soon forces his former mistress to bring him his necessary human sacrifices to complete his body. But the Cenobites won't be happy about this. Hellraiser, directed and based on a story by Clive Barker. Stars Andrew Robinson, Claire Higgins, Ashley Lawrence, Sean Chapman, Oliver Smith, Robert Hines.
Max von Sydow?
No, but I got a Pinhead. Doug Bradley.
Now, to me, it doesn't sound like this one had a lot of known cast members, I should say.
I mean, known to me, no. I don't know. I couldn't say for sure. I couldn't say. I don't know them.
What's your thoughts on this one?
I've seen Hellraiser many, many, many times. I like it. The single thing I wrote down is everything is filthy. I think it's a classic horror movie. I think it's an interesting concept. The Cenobites, even though the Hellraiser franchise has not gone anywhere good, like remotely good at all, the Cenobites are such a cool and kind of iconic horror movie set of monsters. Pinhead is definitely like a very iconic horror movie monster. Everybody's seen Pinhead, even if they haven't really seen Hellraiser specifically.
Right.
And I think this movie is interesting because it's not really about the monsters. It's this story, like the overview said. It's about this dude that comes back and gets Julia to murder people for him, like bring him people that he can absorb their life or whatever from. Just kind of a strange concept. I don't like the weird sexual aspect to it, but that makes it kind of unique in a way because it's grotesque and super sexed up but it's in the creepiest way. It's just super creepy and gross. It just makes everything about it makes my skin crawl.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of cheesy. There's some cheesy moments. But overall, I think it's a fairly well-made movie. This was Clive Barker's first movie he ever directed, and he didn't do too many after this either. But I think it's put together pretty well. There's some very effective scenes. I like the weird dream sequence that the daughter has. Super creepy. Kind of Nightmare on Elm Street-ish. What's his name? Wes Craven dreamscape type thing, only, in my opinion, a little bit better. What are your thoughts? This, to me, I know, like, I'll talk about this movie, but what's interesting to me is what your thoughts are, because you've never seen Hellraiser, and unlike 7, this is something that, like, 7 is generally, like, I assume most people think it's a good movie. Hellraiser's weird enough, it could turn a lot of people off, so.
I'm kind of on the turned off side of this movie, but I thought this movie was going to be about Pinhead. Mm-hmm. Like, everything I've ever seen of this movie. Now, I've never seen this movie. Not even bits and pieces. I knew of Pinhead, but didn't know the story behind him. I went into this one, thinking that it was about him, and then to figure out it's basically a love story gone wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it was intriguing, but yet it didn't really capture my attention.
The story that it's based on by Clive Barker, I think, was called The Hellbound Heart or something like that, which, like you said, love story gone wrong. Well, it's kind of like the first Friday the 13th doesn't really have Jason in it. It's one of those things where Pinhead's there, but the Cenobites are they're a minor piece. They're a side character. The story's not about them. They're just a threat that sits off to the side for almost the entire movie.
Yeah, was there 3 of them? I think, right? Or 4?
4 of them. We'll get into those too, because, oh God.
Yeah, because that's what I thought, is like you would think they're more the main character, but they're more like support, like, and not even support, just kind of wrapped back into it, like to picture why he's in, like they're more there to explain why he's in like that form, or that, you know, where he has to take everybody else's flesh. You know, they're just kind of there to tell you why that happened. Like,
they're kind of the piece of the setting, or a little bit of the motivation, whereas this whole other story is the actual plot of the movie. I think when I first watched Hellraiser, I was a teenager, but I too had the same thought process about it as you did. Like, it's like, okay, well, I know who Pinhead is. I've probably seen little bits and pieces of other Hellraiser movies. So when I watched this, I was thrown that it's like, oh, it's not really even about Pinhead. But how I look at it now is I kind of appreciate that aspect, because they're there, but they're not explained. The box is there, but not explained at all. I mean, they are kind of explained. It's explained what they are, basically, but it doesn't get into them themselves. And the movie's not Pinhead chasing after a victim for, you know, the last half of a movie. It is this love story gone wrong. And I kind of appreciate that angle, to where there's all this weird hell stuff, all the box and all this weird stuff, and weird chunks of wood spinning around in the room, and chains with hooks on them, and chunks of meat, and then it all just is gone. Like, weird stuff.
That was weird with the wall opening.
I like that aspect of it. I will say there's a lot of laughably bad stuff in this movie, though. I don't think it's perfect. I think it's a great horror movie. Like, I think it's an iconic horror movie, but there's some bad acting. There's some real bad acting. There's that big monster at the end that chases after the daughter sees it first in the hospital when the wall opens and she goes into that hallway. That weird big monster. I kind of like how strange of a design it is. I don't really like the monster, though, and I think it doesn't look great. I mean, I don't mind a rubber suit monster, but it's just weird. It's weird. Like, when you've got the Cenobites.
I actually thought that the monster in the Thing was better than that one in the hallway. Like,
the monster in the Thing? What, at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, the one in the hallway didn't look great. And it was obviously like this thing that they had attached to the front of, I'm assuming, something on wheels that they could push. Like, I don't know. Like, you couldn't see the crew behind it, but the way it was set up and moved, it's just like, in my mind, I can totally see the crew back there pushing this thing towards the camera.
Right.
The daughter's not a great actress in this. The kind of love interest of hers that's in it a little bit is weird. I don't care for that guy at all. And his little cigarette mouth trick, does that really impress people? It's weird. Just forget that guy. I hate the style of everybody. This super 80s, like, horrible style everybody's got. Ugh, get it out of here. Julia's hair. Julia looks terrible.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I had to get on my little rant. So it's not a perfect movie. What did you think of the graphics? I mean, the effects. I have to.
You mean the CGI?
Not CGI. There's no CGI in this. Well,
No.
there was some there was some visual effects, like the little light effects and stuff, especially with the Cenobites would disappear. But no, what did you think of? Particularly, what always impressed me about this movie is the effects of Frank. When Frank first comes back to life, like, in that room, and there's that weird, it like bubbles up through the floor, and then basically like the skeleton stuff starts like assembling out of the floor. What did you think?
That was intriguing. I also like his makeup as when every time he takes a body. But I think they did that very well. Other than the other monster looking like crap, thought they did him pretty well.
Other than the one monster, I think the effects, I think the practical effects and the makeup on everything looks great. I think the victims of his look horrifying.
Mm-hmm.
The Cenobites, for the most part, look pretty good. One of them I have design issues with, but they look great. And Frank looks great at every stage. Like, the super early stages, it's impressive. Whatever effects they use to like make him come out of the floor looks great. his Mr. Goodbody thing, where he's just basically like a skinless muscle dude, and he's just
That's right, Mr. Goodbody.
he's just goop, like he's covered in goop head to toe, and she's like putting his finger on her lips, and it's like, don't touch him, he's gooped. But
yeah, because that's like I said, it's like every stage of him was like you like believed that person did not have any skin. Like they even had like the veins and the muscles and stuff.
Yeah, it looked good, and I think it works for the most part. There's some great shots, especially up in the attic. Like I think one shot where he's fairly early on, but he's like just looking out the window or something, but it's just like, I don't know, the lighting on his face. There's some just really good shots in there. It's put together fairly well for a first-time filmmaker. I'm not sure offhand who did the cinematography, but I think it looks pretty good. Okay, what was with... where Frank is basically like, I think at this point Frank is keyed into his brother. He wants his brother, and Julia doesn't want to do that. He's still her husband or whatever, so she doesn't want to kill him. So Julia and what's his name? I can't remember. Her husband are in the bedroom, and Frank's in there and creeps out of the closet, and Julia knows, and she's like, no, and she starts wigging out. And Frank has a rat. Do you know the scene I'm talking about? If you don't,
yeah. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And he starts cutting through the rat, and then he like flips it open. It's like, what was
that needed for? Yeah, because I was actually going to ask you about that. I was like, what was with that? Like, was he trying to say something, or?
I got you a gift.
I think the obvious
it's
idea,
a little rat.
The obvious idea is like, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna come kill him. I need to absorb him or whatever. But then the rat, I guess, is a threat. I don't know. It's like, all right, I'll leave him for now, but I'm gonna get him. Look, I cut a rat up. Like, it's so weird.
I was like, was he trying to like you? I thought he said in the sign like, I'm gonna cut him in half, but that'd be really weird if he like cut it open and just started drinking. Oh.
Larry, his name is Larry, that brother's character. Anyway,
yeah, I think.
Yeah, Larry seems like a nice guy. I feel bad for how things go with him. Julia at no point seems like a pleasant person. Like even before like she discovers Frank upstairs, she just does not seem like a good person at all. But I feel bad for how it goes with Larry. Larry seems like a good guy, and he ends up pretty gross.
He ends up on the wrong side of that situation.
There's some lines in here that stick with me. When Frank does finally get Larry, and he's basically wearing a Larry skin then, because at one point he's even like adjusting his eye and stuff. Like it's weird. But then the daughter, Christy, comes over, and she's upset. And when she finally figures out what happened, Frank wearing the Larry suit is like, "Come to daddy, come to daddy." It's the most weird, creepy thing ever, but just the way he says daddy. It's always amused me.
Oh my god.
Parts of this movie make me laugh, dude. That always makes me laugh. I like when the Cenobites show up. Like when she's in the hospital and it does that thing where there's like the brick wall and then the light changes and light's shining through the cracks or it's tile and like, you know, it looks like normal tile wall, but then like light shines through where there should be the seams between the tiles. It's just open and it's lights. Like, I don't know. Anytime the Cenobites show up, it looks super cool. And I think that stuff's handled pretty well. You obviously have run out of steam or don't have much to say about Hellraiser. But let's talk about maybe a little column A, column B. Let's talk about the Cenobites. I think Pinhead looks cool. He's kind of the main one. Like he's the leader of them, but he's also the one that's like persisted through all the movies.
Yeah.
The other ones are the Chatterer. I always called it Chatterbox, but it's the Chatterer. What is it? It's got like barbed wire or something pulling its mouth open. I don't think it has eyes, and it's just the teeth just the whole time.
The whole lot.
Yeah, that one's super cool. The other one that they call female Cenobite, great name, guys. She looks
put that one in the thought process.
Right.
There.
Well, who we got? We got Pinhead. Actually, I think Pinhead has a different name, but Pinhead, Chatterer, Butterball, and what should we name the woman? Female. She's a female Cenobite, but she's got like this weird like hole opened up in her neck, and she's kind of gross looking. And then we got, like I mentioned, Butterball. I hate Butterball. I think he's dumb. I think he's so ridiculous. He looks stupid. I think he's a lazy idea.
I called him CeeLo Green.
You did.
I was like, it's Pinhead, Chatterbox, female,
and
CeeLo Green.
Yeah, I don't like Butterball. I think he's dumb. He's just like
I just don't get, why is he wearing sunglasses? Is my freaking like, why the is this guy just wearing? There's gonna be a lot of bleeps here. So you have Pinhead, he makes sense, and then you have Neck Vagina, which is the lady.
That is what it is. I didn't want to say it, but you're right.
And then you have the Chatterer, which makes sense, and then you have CeeLo Green Butterball. It's like
there's a fat guy with a fat neck and glasses.
Which
and
it's
sunglasses.
like, we're gonna try to make this a horror film, but we're gonna give this guy sunglasses, like he found them somewhere or something. It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, he's dumb. He's the worst one. He's the dumbest Cenobite. I'm glad you mentioned the sunglasses. So stupid.
He's like, they're all like at the Cenobite meeting, and he's like, guys, I want to complete my look. I have a black coat. I'm just gonna go full Shaft look, and then just sunglasses or Morpheus. He could be Morpheus.
Dude, they've all got a Matrix thing going on. They've all got the long black coats and stuff.
Yeah, here's another thing too, is that I always thought that Pinhead is he called Hellraiser?
No, he's not called Hellraiser.
Because that's what people are like, oh yeah, this Hellraiser I have, like they had like a little action figure of him.
Really? They don't know what the hell they're talking about then.
That's what I thought. I was like, that wouldn't make any sense then. Why would it be his own character?
No, Pinhead is called the Hell Priest, apparently. Is kind of his, I don't know which movie, or maybe it was in the book, but he's known as Hell Priest, Lead Cenobite, the Pope of Hell, Dr. Paul Gregory, the Engineer, Colt Man, according to Cenobite.wikia.com.
Well, where does Dr. Gregory come from?
It must be one movie where let's do the origin of Pinhead or something stupid like that. It's not in this movie. We just
have him come from the darkness, like where...
Yeah, this explains enough of it. They're like, this is what they do. They're like keepers of this box or whatever, and they show up and torture you if you want, I guess. Or if you don't want, but you're dumb enough to open this box. So, which is another thing. Maybe the box should include some type of disclaimer.
Right.
Let's talk about the box itself, because I actually kind of think that's one of the coolest aspects of Hellraiser, this whole story, is because you got Pinhead, and then you've got like the other thing that's known is
Pandora's box, basically.
Yeah, it is that puzzle box, and I think that thing's super cool. And even though I don't think it could possibly operate like it does, but it's a cool idea.
Shocked Till You Drop ranked Butterball number 7 in their list of 10 best Cenobites, calling him infamously creepy and mysterious.
Listen, you throw sunglasses on a fat guy doesn't make him mysterious, all right? What did you think of Frank's final moments? I love it. It's so ridiculous and horrible. I guess that was cut down. Like, Clive Barker had to do a lot of edits to this movie to get it down to an R.
Jesus.
I was wondering about that. I wonder if that stuck with you. Because, so they've got him on these fish hooks, and it's like literally pulling him apart. And like his face is all stretched out. It looks weird. It's not the best effect, but whatever. It looks weird. And
it was creepy.
Just before his like everything explodes, his face explodes and everything, he says, Jesus wept, like, which is weird. Why? But then he also gives a little lip lick. Oh, like a sexy thing. I'm like, oh God, this movie, man. Just the Jesus wept and then the sexy lip lick as his face is getting pulled apart. What?
Yeah, apparently that actor, I was reading that just now on here, that actor talked the director into saying Jesus wept over just saying F you, which I think the latter would have been better.
F you?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm a little surprised by that because F you just seems, I don't know. It seems too typical. Just throwing out Jesus wept and doing a creepy, sexy lip lick. Like, I like that because that's just like, they got Frank. Frank didn't want to be gotten, of course. But then again, he still called them in the first place. He likes weird, psychosexual torture. So in a way, even though that's not what he wanted, he's still into it. You know what I'm saying? So like, I just like throwing that little extra bit of like, he's just like, whatever. I'm going to enjoy this if it's going to happen.
Right.
I think that just adds to the super creepiness of just the general ick of this movie. Throwing an FU at the end was just, I don't know, I that would have seemed cheesy to me.
Also, another one is Claire Higgins hates horror movies. When she saw this movie for the first time at the premiere, she had to leave 10 minutes in because it freaked her out so much. She has never seen the whole movie.
Really? God,
Yeah.
She's like the main character. That's another weird thing. She's like the main character of this movie. Not, I mean, Frank's not really Frank. Definitely not the father or daughter, even though the daughter kind of becomes like the final girl or whatever. Not Pinhead. It's Claire. It follows, it's all about her. It follows her most of the time. So that's surprising to me. That's interesting.
She gets kind of like the Wasp Woman thing where she's like almost like the innocent thing, and then she just starts helping kill people, like, or killing people like Wasp Woman did.
I like that she shows a little bit of conflict the first murder. After that, she's just, nope, she's on board. She's cold.
Don't give a crap.
Yep. She's cold, done, killer.
She's like, I don't want to kill anybody. So after the first one, she's like, I'm going to kill everyone in this house.
Like, oh, I'm sorry, you don't like boxing because of the violence. She's like, no, it's fine. They should be boxing with hammers. Also, a hammer. Oh my god,
dude!
That first murder was one of the things that got edited to get down to an R. Apparently, they shot it. The actor that played the guy that she picked up and murdered believed, he's like, it makes more sense that my character would be naked during this. So they shot it where he gets murdered while he's naked, and then they also shot the alternate where he's got some clothes on, which is what they ended up using. And then the violence was toned down a bit. When Christy finds Larry's body, what's left of his body, she like puts her hand in it, and apparently they cut a bunch of stuff out where she like more of her hands just like in his guts and stuff. It's like apparently they went hardcore, super hardcore on it, because what we ended up with the R rating is still super bloody, super weird, super kind of sexual, and this is what was cut down from what got an X rating at first.
That'd be weird if it had an X rating. Like,
I mean, anymore, if it was released today, they'd have cut down for an R in the theater and then released the unrated version. That's how that would have gone. But they didn't really release unrated versions, so yeah, they'd just give it a straight up X. Or I guess it'd be NC-17 now.
What would you think the rating would be in the theater today?
For what we watched as an R-rated movie?
Yeah.
It's hard to say. Like, they just, there's not a lot of movies that come out that hardcore anymore, even horror movies. And if there is an extreme horror movie, the problem it seems like studios don't put much budget behind horror movies. So if we're gonna get a hardcore horror movie, oftentimes it's just gonna go straight to like streaming or something. And then in which case they don't have to worry about rating. So I feel like it'd still be toned back from what we got there. Apparently the flashback scenes between Frank and Julia were more sexual originally, and the studio like more sensual and sexual, and the studio didn't like that. It was too explicit, and so they recommended taking out some of the sex stuff and putting in more of the violent stuff. So that's why like their flashback is a weird sexually violent thing instead of just sexual. Because the studio's like, no, that's too sexy. Put some violence in there. Whoa, what? Okay. Like apparently there was an anal thing. Like there's anal of some kind. And the studio's like, take out the anal, but maybe put in some more of that knife stuff. Wow. Your guys' priorities are real weird.
Yeah.
There's also an interesting, and while preparing my cinematic universe and doing some research, I found an interesting tie between this and Seven. The intro song, the song that plays during the credits of Seven, which I don't believe is uncredited in the movie, but it's a remix of the Nine Inch Nails song Closer. It's Closer Precursor, and it was remixed by Coil. Originally, Clive Barker wanted Coil to do the score for this. I've heard some unreleased music by Coil that was supposed to be the original score for Hellraiser. Coil's like a post-industrial, avant-garde industrial band, two-man act for the most part. I think they've had other members throughout the time, but yeah. So Coil was originally made music for Hellraiser that didn't get used, but they did that remix for that music sound that plays at the beginning of Seven. So I was like, oh, there's a little connection there.
Yeah, apparently Barker's a really big fan of them. So,
which is cool. That makes sense. I like that Barker likes Coil. But the studio got scared. They're like, what? No, what? Is industrial rock band do the music? No. That's okay.
No, good.
The music that's in there though, I think works. I mean, it's more standard orchestral music, but I think it works. It's still good. It's kind of become somewhat iconic on its own.
I thought the score was pretty good in this one.
Yeah, I think it's good.
Creepy when it needed to be.
It's creepy when it needed to be. It's not totally. I mean, I couldn't tell you the melody offhand, but it does have it. It's got kind of a hook that when you hear it, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, Hellraiser. Okay, well, anything else you want to add before we hit star ratings on this?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I know.
You ain't gonna like 1 star rating.
Okay, I went first last time, so you go first this time.
So, like I said, there are some things I liked about this movie, but I'm going to go with a solid 3.5.
Oh, that's not bad. It didn't. From your reaction, it did not seem like this was your kind of movie. 3.5. I can live with that. I guess I'll have to.
I like how you judge my rating. You're like, I could do that. It's like one day I'm gonna be like 3.5. You're like, no, 4.5. That's where I'm putting you. Like,
oh, nice. That's funny. You're wrong. It's you thought this was a 5.
It's like on the website. It's like mine's crossed out and it says Randy edit, and then it shows your rating.
Yep. You know, honestly, 3.5 is not bad because mine, I give this a 4. I'm only half a star higher than you.
Okay, well, I'm surprised a little bit.
3.5 is a little high. Well, 4 stars is still a solid rating. 3.5 is higher than I expected, given I think your initial reaction to it. Are you sure you don't want to drop it lower?
No.
Okay, yeah, no, I give this 4 star because I think it's an iconic horror movie. I think it's classic. I think it's worth watching. I think it's a good movie. It's an interesting story. For the most part, it's well made. I do think there's some laughable moments that aren't supposed to be laughable. There's some stuff that just doesn't make sense. I accept it, but it's like, why? Why does he cut the rat? Why does that kid even have to be in there that does the cigarette trick? The whole thing with the daughter, like, so she passes out in public and they put her in a mental hospital. What? Like, maybe that's how it is over there in the 80s in the UK, wherever they are. Don't get it. Some of the acting is not good. So, like, it's not a 5 star. It's not my favorite horror movie, but yeah,
a 4.
I enjoy 4. It's still 4 super solid. So if you like horror movies at all, if you're like any kind of horror movie fan, you should watch Hellraiser. It's good. Most of the other Hellraisers are just not good movies. This is at least a good movie. It's interesting. It's original.
If you watch horror movies and you haven't watched this, your opinion does not matter.
No, I'll just say that for some reason you never got around to it. Or maybe you've seen one of the sequels and you're like, oh, this is a bad movie. I'm never watching Hellraiser. No, you should know better by now. But yeah, check out Hellraiser.
Going off that, what movie in the horror genre would someone have to watch for you to honor their comments about horror genre? What is like the must-see horror movie?
I mean, I don't know if I'd dishonor the comments of most people. That's not totally true, but I guess it's more, for me, it's more about what they have seen. What did they actually like? What kind of horror movies did they like? If they liked a bunch of just total junk and not bad or trash B movies, but just crap movies, I'm not really going to take their comments seriously because some people just have bad taste or taste that doesn't align with mine. But I mean,
yours is the only right way.
Mine's the right way. No, but if you're asking like what are some must-watch horror movies for horror movie fans, I mean, I've done my top 10 horror movie lists before, and say The Thing, The Shining. Didn't you give The Thing the same? Didn't you give The Thing the same rating? 3.5?
I think so.
But yeah, The Thing, The Shining, those are always my top 2. Halloween's usually up there somewhere. Halloween I can kind of understand if people can't get behind, but if you're like a horror movie fan, I'm assuming you like Halloween, but who knows? Yeah.
It's Halloween. Oh, that's wrong.
Not that. I don't even really care for that. I don't know why.
Neither do I.
I can't get into it.
I get people mad at me because I am not a Tim Burton fan. Like, I respect the movies and I don't hate them. I just don't. It's not my cup of tea.
At this point, I used to like Tim Burton a lot. At this point, he's done far more bad movies than he's done movies that I enjoy. Well, no, rephrase. Far more movies that I don't enjoy at all than movies I have enjoyed. I think his early stuff, everything up to Everything up to Sleepy Hollow, I think, was totally solid. That's like his classic. That's the essential Tim Burton stuff, as far as I'm concerned. And then pretty much Sleepy Hollow and everything after is later Tim Burton. That's not that great.
Mm-hmm.
Sleepy Hollow was the turning point for me, for him. For me
and for him.
And then the Planet of the Apes remake was the nail in the coffin. And I've watched a bunch of his stuff since then. And some of it's okay. Like the Demon Street Barber guy, whatever, Sweeney Todd. Like that's okay, but
I actually liked that one, but
it wasn't bad, but it's not,
not one I'd have in my collection.
Yeah, I'm not a musical guy. All right, Jasper. The movie studios are after something dark, something gritty, something creepy. Well, they managed to pick up the Hellraiser franchise for freaking dirt cheap. 'Cause nobody cares. What could they pair it with that's also dark? You know what was very popular that they never made a sequel to? Seven. So how could they combine Seven and Hellraiser in the darkest universe? Maybe Universal Bottom. Who's going first on this bad boy?
You can take the lead on this one.
Okay, so here's my pitch. Like I said, GCU number 10 forever changed the way my pitches are going to go. No more of this, well, I was thinking maybe this or a little bit of this, like we used to do back in season 1. Actually, you're the one who started the ball rolling when you wrote out that RoboCop Judge Dredd pitch with the Flint water squirt gun and all that. So I didn't write this one full, like this isn't fully fleshed out, but I have some nice setup scenes, and then I have the general summary of how the rest of the movie will go. But, of course, we'll hire somebody to take a couple passes at it to fill in the rest, all right? I call this, it's already so dumb, Hellraiser 7.
Okay.
Now, mind you, there's been 9 Hellraiser movies at this point. The actual Hellraiser 7 was not called Hellraiser 7, and it came out in 2005. My version, my movie, Hellraiser 7, will take place 8 years after the original 7, which was in 1995, which puts this movie as the proper Hellraiser, Part 7. Opens. Detective Somerset can't sleep. He sits awake in his small, dark apartment, metronome ticking away on the nightstand. He still has nightmares about it, about the drive, about the box, always the box. He puts on a suit. Cut to street. Night. Raining. Somerset gets into a cab. During the drive, flashbacks to that other drive, the John Doe drive. We get footage from the end of 7. Brief scenes of Mills, Somerset, and John Doe driving out to the desert. Except Kevin Spacey's scenes have been reshot. Tom Hanks now plays John Doe. Come on, that's yep.
Okay, all right, I'm on board.
Which, total side note. Now there's the video game joke about that where they replaced Spacey with, I think it was Tom Hanks, right? You're a first person shooter guy, right? So what game was that? One of the Army of
Call of Duty.
Army of Duty. Call
Army of Duty.
Army of Duty Rainbow.
Call of Battlefield.
Army of Battlefield Duty Rainbow Six.
Rainbow Six Duty Battlefield.
CSI. So Somerset arrives at the station. Plus, I want to see Tom Hanks as a true villain. He's like America's sweetheart, right? Kind of. Mm-hmm. I want to see him play Kevin Spacey level, just evil dude. Except not in real life.
Wonder if he could do it.
He's a pretty good actor. I want to see it. I want to see it happen. Okay. Somerset arrives at the station. On the way up to his office, he passes by Detective Taylor. Somerset, what the f*** are you doing here? Don't you ever give it a rest? Taylor asks. Somerset keeps walking. When are you going to retire? Taylor continues. I've been saying it for 8 years now? We're all going to be really glad to get rid of you, Somerset. Why does that detective, who was in the movie, who was in 7, get a name? Detective Taylor. And the police captain is just police captain. Come on, guys.
Because once you rank up, you lose your name.
I guess so. All right. Somerset doesn't acknowledge him. He arrives at the door to his office. He opens it and we see boxes upon boxes of notebooks lining the walls. John Doe's notebooks, stuffing the small office. Cut to credits. John Doe's notebooks again. A rare Closer remix by Coil plays. The rest of the score is by Coil.
Coil makes a return.
Dude, I was going to go super nerdy into it. I was going to say, closer on recalled remix plays and not explain it and see if anybody caught it. But anyway, credits are over. Somerset is thumbing through notebooks, looking for something. The department has made special exceptions for him here and there. Since Mills, for example, Somerset's refused to work with any partners, and they just kind of let it slide, even though that's not really protocol. The door swings open. "What the hell are you doing here already, Somerset?" the police captain asks. "The box," Somerset responds. "I keep thinking about the box." "Jesus, Somerset," the police captain says. "It's been nearly a decade. I think it's time to get rid of these books. I think it's time to move on. Hell, Mills will be out of prison in a few years."
I like that addition.
You like that? I had to throw something in there. I'm like, if this is like 8 years later, Mills probably maybe got 10, right?
You think?
Maybe. He definitely didn't get life. Like, it's almost it wasn't premeditated. It's almost a manslaughter charge. It'd be, I don't know what it is, but it wouldn't be like a premeditated murder. Plus, he's a cop. Maybe they go harder on him for that, but I doubt it, given the circumstances. Anyway, "I've seen something in these notes. Something about the box." "So, those are the writings of a crazy person." "He wasn't crazy," Somerset snaps. "It's dangerous to make that assumption. There's something more to it." "Well, since you're already here, I've got one for you. Just got the call. A body. Go check it out. Title credit, Monday." Cut 2. Crime scene. A grotesque sight. An oddly emaciated body and a whole bunch of blood. Somerset investigates the area. The only oddity is a small, strange puzzle box of some kind. "I've seen this before," Somerset says. Back at the station, Somerset is flipping through the notebooks again. "I knew it," Somerset exclaims. He takes the notebook over to the captain's office and slaps it down on the captain's desk. The police captain starts deriding him for obsessing over the books when he should be working on the case, but Somerset stops him. "Look," he points to a drawing in the notebook. "Okay, and?" Somerset slaps a picture down on the desk. "It's the puzzle box taken at the crime scene. The same puzzle box as is drawn in John Doe's notebook. This is just beginning again." All right, and from here, I've got the summary. Like, that's the whole setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the little tie together. Here's how the rest of the movie goes. You fill in the blank spaces. All right, the rest of the film is Somerset investigating the case at hand, as well as the history of the box. He learns of similar unsolved murder cases in the UK. More murders turn up in the current case, another each day, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. The bodies are emaciated as well, and a theme to the murders becomes evident. It seems there is a Seven Sins copycat killer. Eventually, Summers opens the box, unleashing the Cenobites. Pinhead, female Cenobite, great name, guys, really. Chatterer, and Frank are the Cenobites. I don't know what happened to Butterball. He got the boot. Now it's Frank. Which would be way creepier.
It's like the camera pans and it just like where Butterball would be. Frank's just standing there just like,
"Come to Daddy." Okay.
That's all he says. Come to
Daddy. Chatterer's like, "Ah," and he's like, "Come to Daddy." Female Cenobite's like, okay. Yeah. Through interacting with them, Somerset discovers they are searching for another soul that got away from them, a particularly twisted soul known as John Doe. Somerset vows to hunt down John Doe. The Cenobites agree to let him do so. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. More people die. Everything is dark and gritty and grimy. Stuff happens. This is where you got to fill in the spaces here. Maybe some creepy stuff.
Filler stuff.
Yeah, atmosphere,
AC.
Creepy stuff. Finally, Sunday. Somerset tracks Doe down at the scene of Doe's most recent killing. This time, Somerset, without hesitation, guns Doe down on sight, no questions asked. The Cenobites come and take Doe, but do not take Somerset. Instead, they leave him at the scene as the police arrive. The police bust in to find Somerset, covered in blood, no Doe in sight. He is arrested. Somerset has no proper alibi for any of the murders. Of course, he was investigating the murders, but they always occurred at a time when Somerset was out of the station. Without a partner, there was no one to back him up on where he said he was at the time of the murders. Testimony from Detective Taylor put him out and about on the night of the first murder, arriving at the station in the middle of the night, coincidentally, not long after the murder occurred. Even the police captain, as much as he didn't want to believe Somerset was capable of the murders, had to testify to Somerset's unhealthy obsession with the John Doe case. Somerset was found guilty and sent to prison. He never did see Mills in there, though. He may have befriended a man by the name of Andy Dufresne, but that's a story for another time. Credits.
Dufresne? Oh my god.
There we go.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
How do you think about writing them out like that? Down for that? Should I keep doing that? What do you think?
Yeah, I like what you did because you like the voice too. The voice sells it.
Good.
But it was bad when you said title scene Monday.
Uh-huh.
All I heard in my head was dung dung.
oh, so good. I should have said that. Dum dum Monday. Yeah, we're gonna tie it all in.
The Law and Order. Dung dung.
This is the Law and Order 7 Hellraiser Shawshank Redemption Cinematic Universe.
Green Mile has to be in there.
So honestly, I wasn't sure how to end it because I was like, I can't come up with something like a good twist or something shocking like the end of 7. That's a pretty good twist, right? And in Hellraiser, it would, if it played out like Hellraiser, Somerset would find the guy, give him the Cenobites, and then like have an overly determined struggle over the box with a creature, and that'd be the end of it. I didn't want that, so I was like, well, it's still 7, so it's got to end bad for somebody. And so whatever, he gets framed, or did he? Maybe he was just crazy, and maybe he actually did kill all those people.
Oh,
maybe 8 years of reading through John Doe's notebooks is not a healthy thing to do.
Yeah, I thought you actually wrote out all those notebooks too.
Yeah, I know. That's insane. What do you got, sir?
Well, mine, like I said, was more of an outline. Was that I believe that they could have done so. Like Mills goes to the prison and basically is so overcome with being one of the 7 deadly sins that he tries to repent, and then so he starts reading up on how to like repent, and then he does the self-inflicting damage to himself, and then they show up.
Okay.
Right?
I like it.
And then he finds out that so he goes to their world and then figures out that Doe was actually sent by them to try to purify the world.
Oh, I like that.
But yeah, and that was what I had, because what I was going off was the comments made by Doe in the car where he's like you killed innocent people, and he's like, oh, all these people are innocent, like
only in a world this sick. Yeah. Can you call these people innocent? I like that angle. I like that a lot. I like the idea that the Cenobites sent Doe. And I definitely wanted to go with Somerset, but I was like, Mills, you could totally go with Mills too. That's a good way to introduce the Hellraiser mythos in the box into 7 through Mills. I like that.
I was going to make it to where like he got sent the puzzle in prison from just an unknown source, but then I wanted it to be from a source. And then I thought about having Doe send it beforehand, knowing he'd get arrested.
Ooh, I like that too. That's pretty good.
But then it'd be like, how would he know his cell number, or did he?
His cell number 7.
Uh...
Yeah, okay, that was fun. I mean, the idea of putting these movies together is ridiculous, but aesthetically, it so works from a visual standpoint. Like, they're both so dark, and the dark, gritty world of 7 would fit in any horror movie almost, you know? I mean, I don't know if some people might consider 7 a horror movie. I don't really, but okay. I mean, I'd watch them.
Right? That's what I was thinking.
I would watch them, but I'd be upset that they were ruining 7 by meshing it with a crappy franchise. But that's why, you know, whatever. We're going off the first Hellraiser. I still love
the Tom Hanks is now in that movie.
Oh yeah, Tom Hanks is John Doe now. Well, initially I was like, and they're gonna CG replace John Doe with Tom Hanks, but I was like, wait, no, they'll just shoot him in the back of a car because there's all of Spacey's shots in the back, and you can't rehire Spacey for the role.
Life is like a box.
Now that I think about it,
demon hail.
Now that I think about it, they still have to replace Spacey in the back of the car. They're just not going to even have him in this movie. But the resurrected John Doe could be anybody because he will take the form of whoever, I'm assuming the last person he absorbed to complete himself, kind of like Frank did with his brother. So it could be anybody as the role later on. It doesn't have to be Tom Hanks the whole time. Tom Hanks, I'm sure, is not cheap. Then again, neither is Morgan Freeman. So,
or Brad Pitt.
Yours had Brad Pitt though. Mine didn't even have Brad Pitt. He just gets a mention. Like we're going full on like cheesy sequel where it's clear they couldn't get certain actors back, and they're like, oh yeah, well, Mills is still in prison. He'll get out in a couple years, acknowledging his existence but not actually going to him in my movie.
Or if they do go to him, he's like behind his shadow.
Yeah. You're right. This is a world of He goes all Private Pile on him. And then Vincent D'Onofrio jumps in, and then it's The Cell. It's a crap movie. I don't care what
Mills is now played by Max von Sydow.
Why don't we? Yeah, I should have cast Max von Sydow in all our movies.
Monday, boom, Max von Sydow. Dun, dun.
Morgan Freeman didn't really like the script, so we're using Max von Sydow, but we're gonna CGI Morgan Freeman's face on him. It's kind of digital blackface, but.
And it's funny they do it so wrong. It's like from here down he's white, but he's got Morgan Freeman's
Like they
face.
literally just the face. The hair's not even. It's still Max von Sydow's hair. If he still has hair at this point, he's pretty old.
Oh my god!
All right. Well, that's it. That's what we got. That's what's in the box, everybody. So next episode, we're gonna amp this up. Jasper. Next episode, I expect you to chug like 2 gallons of coffee, pop some go-go pills, and intravenously take a bunch of Monster, because we're going to do a super action cinematic universe next episode. It's going to be insane.
It's going to be crazy.
I say this and you literally lay back and close your eyes.
No. I just stretched.
Uh-huh. And close your eyes. Okay. So next episode, we're going to discuss Crank 2, High Voltage, and Hardcore Henry. 2 virtually non-stop insane action movies.
I'm excited for Hardcore Henry. I wanted to see that when it was in theaters, but I never did.
I seen the director guy's music video that kind of inspired it. He made a feature-length movie, all POV, and Netflix just got it. So it's on. If a listener, if you want to check it out, so you've seen it when we discuss it next episode. It's on Netflix. It just got added this month, so that's why I got a chance to watch it.
Crank 2 on there?
Crank 2 is not. I'm not sure where Crank 2 is. I'll have to look that up. And the connection is just crazy insane action. I mean, if maybe there's further connections we'll notice when I'm watching, but I was like, what's some of the most insane action movies I can think of is Crank 2, Hardcore Henry. You know what's funny? Now that we've done the whole cinematic universe thing, the extended cinematic universe, and I have that idea in my head, going forward, I'm going to be like, so this means in the future, we're going to be able to combine Hellraiser, Se7en, Crank 2, and Hardcore Henry. And every episode is just going to be adding more to that. It's just like waiting for episode 20 now. I might have ruined I might have just ruined our premise with that, but all right. And let's see, on the most recent episode of Grawlix Podcast, maybe you'll be interested. We discussed Saga Volume 2. Saga is a great comic book. We basically gushed about it for most of the episode. And then we discussed some recent trailers. We discussed the Shazam trailer, that Insane Titans trailer for the DC live action TV show where he's like F Batman. And then we discussed upcoming Doctor Who. So if you like that kind of thing, check out Grawlix Podcast. And you can find that as well as our show at grawlixpodcast.com. It's GRAWLIX podcast.com. Or you can follow us on Twitter. Hey, follow us on, forget the other guys. Follow us on Twitter at GCU Podcast, as in Grawlix Cinematic Universe Podcast. Or at Grawlix Podcast too. Those guys are all right, whatever.
God, the one that runs that Twitter, he's a piece of work.
Yeah, no kidding. What a jerk. And whatever. We're on Stitcher and Spotify and iTunes and all that. Facebook.com/Grawlix Podcast. Throw /Grawlix Podcast after Instagram, Facebook, whatever. YouTube. You'll be there. YouTube. Pornhub. YouTube. I will be doing more videos on YouTube. Randomly, the mysterious YouTube algorithm gods have started showing a horror movie list, like a 6 creepy horror movies you might have missed video that I made 4 years ago. They apparently have started showing that to a whole bunch of people because that video has been blowing up. And I've been slowly uploading our older podcast episodes because I'd kind of dropped off of YouTube for a while. I'm uploading Grawlix Podcast and GCU episodes to YouTube now, so you'll be able to hear them there. So I'm thinking I'll start doing some more YouTube videos. And since we have GCU now, I have a good excuse to shove more movie-themed content on the Grawlix Podcast channel. I'll be doing that. YouTube.com/Grawlix Podcast. Join the revolution. Is that a thing? Is that a thing we say?
Viva la revolution!
And then follow me on Twitter at Randall Sylvie. It's RANDALSILVEY. Also, follow me on Instagram at Podcast Producer. I am Podcast Producer on Instagram. Come on.
I mean, you locked it down. I mean, that means you're more legit than anybody else.
I'm more legit. Too legit.
Too legit to quit.
Yep. All right, Jasper. I'm sorry. How about you, man?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Ninja Monkey Live, which is NINJAMUNK3Y. Live, not live.
That's important.
Live.
You don't want people to get confused. They might spell it wrong.
Well, that's where you can get me. That's where you
What are you doing? He's doing a neck dance. Okay, I know you can't see what he's doing. He's doing some weird head neck dance. Yes, he's practically laying down, by the way.
I'm sinking into the couch. The couch.
I can see.
The couch.
I'm sinking into the couch. Spend all.
The couch.
Come to couch.
Sounded like I was about to say sinking into a conch. Like a conch.
Weird. This has got weird. Is there anywhere else they can see you? Do you want anything else?
No, not at the moment, no.
Okay. That's it. You look tired.
No, I only got 6 hours, but I'm awake, actually.
Sit up. Don't.